in, they can roll in. That's fine. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. And I really appreciate you making the time to be here. I want to start with a simple truth about real estate, about business in general, and frankly, most careers. Almost nothing meaningful happens in isolation. Deals don't come from people handing out business cards or having business cards sit in a drawer, which is even worse. They come from relationships and trust and being visible before you need something. Um, and by the way, I want to make sure you're seeing the screen that says Real Power of Strategic Networking up at the top. Does that sound right? I think it is. So, networking isn't about working a room like a game show host or handing out 47 business cards and hoping one sticks. And I know a lot of people do that. When it's done well, it's about showing up consistently and being genuine and being helpful and building credibility over time. And the return on investment, the ROI we call it, isn't always immediate, but when it shows up, it tends to show up big. And that's why I'm excited about today's conversation. We got some great people on here because the three people joining us just didn't attend networking events. They built careers by doing it intentionally and authentically. Let me briefly introduce our panel. We're going to have Vanessa Rivera, Mike Lichtenberger, and Dwight Musselman. And each of these great individuals brings a unique insight uh, on visibility and consistency in relationship building that creates lasting impact. Just a quick overview from my perspective. I'm going to miss a lot of stuff and butcher a lot of stuff. But first, Vanessa Rivera, before going full time into real estate with Century 21 Kime, Vanessa was in business development with Univest. So relationship building was literally her career. And if you follow her on LinkedIn, it's fascinating, or on Facebook, you're going to see her everywhere. She's at business openings, she's at chamber events, she's at community gathering. Here she is at many of the business openings. She's been recognized with the Community Advocate Award from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. She was also honored as part of the Lehigh Valley Business Women of Influence in 2025. And beyond that, she's deeply involved in lunch and learns, buyer workshops, and community outreach. Vanessa is truly a masterclass in visibility and purpose. And then we've got Mike Lichtenberger. Mike is CEO of Sherwood Management Group. He is the CEO of Entrust Payment Systems. I'll let him explain that in a little bit. He works with business on governance, risk, and compliance, and he designs payment systems, point of sale systems as well. So anybody who has a restaurant or any sort of business and needs that point of sale, of course, he's the guy to talk to. And here's the thing, Mike doesn't market himself aggressively, he simply shows up consistently and thoughtfully. And anywhere there's a meaningful business event, Mike's there, connecting the dots and building trust. And everybody knows him, and that did not happen by accident. Here's some stuff on Mike as well, Lehigh Valley style. You'll see Dwight at some of these as well. And finally, Dwight Musselman. Dwight is our vice president, one of our vice presidents here at Century 21 Kime, and a commercial broker who's connected countless deals, not by cold calls alone, but by being present in the community. Chamber of Commerce events, local events, business groups. Dwight understands that commercial real estate's a long game, and relationships are the infrastructure that supports it. And he's going to close us out today with some specific things you can do to be present at events. Before we get into it, just a minute or so into the real world stories and tactics that we're going to start with Vanessa and then move to Mike and then move to Dwight. I want to ground us in a few core principles because effective networking really isn't complicated, but it's intentional. And these guys are much better than I am, by the way. So, first, it starts with showing up consistently because familiarity builds trust. And when people see you over and over and over again, your face becomes recognizable, your expertise becomes known, and opportunities start finding you instead of the other way around. And second, be genuinely helpful. The best networkers are really givers. They connect people, they share ideas, and they offer value without expecting anything immediate in return. And third, credibility is built over time. Trust is not instant. It comes from follow through, professionalism, and doing what you say you're going to do. And finally, be visible before you need something. The best time to network is when you don't need anything at all. That way, when the opportunity does show up, you're already top of mind. So today we're going to focus on three very practical things. First, where to actually spend your time, because not all networking events are created equal. And some deliver far better return on investment than others, depending on your business. And second, how to be effective when you're there, how to start conversations that matter, how to avoid feeling awkward or salesy, and how to leave a lasting impression that feels authentic. And third, how to turn relationships into long-term businesses, not quick wins, but sustainable partnerships, referrals, and growth over time. And I do want to point out the Lords Valley office. For those of you who don't know where all of our offices are. Obviously, we've got five of them throughout Eastern Pennsylvania as part of the team. Country Lake Homes up in Greentown and Lords Valley, the Lehigh Valley offices, the Lower Pocono offices, and of course, we manage as well some offices in Delaware. But I'm really excited by some of the stuff that the Lords Valley office of Central Home and Country Lake Homes has been doing lately in 2025, bringing networking to them. They've hosted some events that involve the community, like the photos with Santa, and then what's on the screen are taking it to another level by having pet photos with Santa. By the way, I'm looking for a volunteer to do the same kind of event next year in East Stroudsburg and in Allentown and try and take this a little bit more global because I think it's a great way to give back to the community and a great way to build reputation and connect with people. And by the way, you can invite all your past clients that are pet lovers and reconnect with them, and I think it'll generate referrals. Also, Ina from that office did a Cafe C21 event earlier this month with local artists, free coffee, bakery samples, and a local musician. They also did a shredded event and some other stuff. So, how might some of these, connecting with the community around you, build your business? And one last thing before I turn it over, we've got some great events coming up starting in January. We're going to be doing a series of events starting in the Bethlehem office. We're going to do one for the Latino community about buying a home. Jessica Ortiz and Vanessa Rivera and are two of the people taking the helm for this. It's sponsored by Century 21 and by 21st Century Lending. Ricardo Rivera will be there as a lender as well. And we're looking for more. How can we provide service to the community and how can we use this to build our brand over time? Now, again, why does all this matter? It matters because no matter what stage of your career you're in, whether you're a real estate professional or a business owner, your next listing, your next buyer, your next client usually doesn't come from a cold call. It comes from somebody who has watched you show up, add value, and build trust in the community. And for business owners, strategic partnerships or referrals grow out of relationships, cultivated at the right events with the right mindset. And for career professionals in general, opportunities, promotions, and pivots happen because the right people know who you are and what you're capable of. Because in almost every case, relationships are really that quiet force behind success. So today isn't about telling you to network more. It's about learning from professionals who've turned intentional networking into sustainable business models. Again, you're going to hear some practical strategies, I hope, that you can use immediately, approaches that feel natural, create value, and build a foundation for your long-term growth. And the key takeaway I'd like you to keep in mind is that the relationships you build today become the deals that you close tomorrow. They also become relationships for tomorrow, too. And with that, I'm going to, Vanessa, I am going to make you co-host, I hope. Actually, I can't seem to find you on the screen here. Hold on a
I
second.
think we're done. I think you covered everything.
I don't know about that. You have much more experience with a lot of this stuff than I do. One of the things that's interesting, I look at what you do. There we go. Let me see if I can change you to co-host. Um,
Okay.
and I did that so you can actually share your screen. One of the things I have never, and I'm doing the same thing for Mike at the moment. One of the things I've never been able to successfully do is spend the time to connect. And I'll mention that when I first joined the Chamber of Commerce when I was 20 something, I would go to all the breakfast meetings and everything else. And at the end of the year, they'd have these big events and they'd have like Doug Pat come in and speak, who wasn't in a single meeting. It used to drive me absolutely insane. So,
Mhm.
there are ways to build those connections that I didn't understand when I was young. So, anyway, go ahead, take it away, and that's all.
I think, and later maybe you could send me the advertisement you did for the Spanish seminar that we're gonna do because I think it's incorrect, the date and the day, the way it's written.
I
But
Yeah, it's not finalized yet, but I sent you about an
okay,
hour ago.
okay. Oh, sorry. All right. So, hi everybody. Thank you, Lauren, for the introduction. I appreciate that. Um, and like he said, this did not come overnight. This was years of cultivating and learning what networking is. I wish I would have learned this, like the true understanding and value of it, um, years ago. And I had a mentor uh that always pushed me into stuff, and it was just so foreign to me. I didn't connect the dots like Lauren was saying. um so I do a lot of stuff now. Well, in my previous position with Univest, I did a lot of college career fairs and actually made a lot of friends with these college students and like met with them for coffee and kind of like mentored them or gave them advice on stuff because if there's any value that I could bring to today's conversation is the value of networking. I looked last night on all the deals that I've done since I've gotten my license. It'd be 3 years this year, at the end, actually coming up probably in the next 2 weeks. Um, and every single person was either someone that I met at a networking event and referred me, or was a family friend or a referral from. So I have not done any or have gotten any business just from putting my stuff out there on social media. And I don't pay for the ads and stuff like that. So I don't know, maybe that would change it. But everything that I've done so far has been from that. So I just made a couple of notes here. And one of the things is that I wanted to share is networking isn't extra work. It is the work, so it's like if you have a 9 to 5, that's how I would treat a lot of times in my previous life when I was doing business development was definitely part of the job. And I have been afforded some fantastic relationships. As a matter of fact, a CEO from one of these big organization nonprofits just reached out to me yesterday. She just wanted to refer someone to me. And I was so happy I was top of mind. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to stress if I could. And people don't work with the best agent all the time. They work with the agent they know and trust. So one of the things were like in the beginning of my career, I would make sure that I can be at least 3 events a day. And that's a lot and it's tough. And but it afforded me again some fantastic relationships. And people always say, oh, I don't go to those chamber events because it's the same people all the time. Listen, that's why I'm showing up there because you have that philosophy that it's the same people all the time. And I'm building fantastic relationships with them and being top of mind when they hear of somebody needing something that has to do with real estate. Um, and this is just some stats on why networking matters in real estate. And I did read like 74% of realtors last year or this year didn't sell like hardly anything,
Didn't
and
sell a single property. Yeah, 74% of
yeah,
realtors nationwide didn't sell a single property. Incidentally, 65% of Century 21 agents did. So our track record as a global company was a bit better, but yeah, awful. When you have 3/4 of the population didn't sell a single house or a
yeah,
single commercial property or a single anything, it's just fascinating to me. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
it's okay. So 38% referral power, 85% trust factor, and 3 times the growth. Um, Let me just move this out of the way. Networked agents close more deals annually. And and so, like Lauren said, it's not just about exchanging business cards. To be honest, I stopped giving out business cards for a while. Unless I feel like I'm in a different area of Pennsylvania that I know I'm probably not gonna see too much of these people, I might always give my business card then. But like when I'm in the community and I'm around and I'm going to networking events, I don't always give out my card until they ask me for it. Sometimes I'll just say, let's exchange numbers. And I'll text them my name. And then maybe later I'll text them the front and back of my card. And then I'll put them in my phone so like where I met them. So that'll jog my memory because I'm meeting tons of people all the time. Let's see. you know, you show up locally. There's a lot of different events. Like you can be part of the chamber because Lauren pays for the chamber. You can go to the events at a discounted rate because you would be considered a chamber member. You can be part of a board. Um, you should look. I know, and these are just some of the things that I do that I know a lot of realtors don't do, especially probably ones that have been in the field a long time. Like they're used to using one specific person, like for mortgage. Like I meet a ton of realtors that are on teams and they use that person that's on the team. Well, you know what? I get deals that not everybody can fit in that box. Like we, like a lot of people, I'm sure here use 21st Century Mortgage. I would love to send them more business, but you know what? I deal with a lot of people that, maybe they need that down payment assistance and closing costs. And guess what? I got a few banks that stack grants and programs. And you know what? They're looking into it now, 21st Century, to see if they can do that or if they, do that. And it's not always conducive for everybody. So, like, you can't put people in a box either. But if they don't fit here, you need to have a toolbox of people. So, you should be out there getting to know these mortgage people. You should be out there getting to know whatever kind of home inspector, strategic partner, you should have an array of them in your toolbox. And that's what makes me valuable because um, I was out with Taniko, supporting her on one of her deals, and there was an issue with something with the electrician. I just called up. I have an electrician on speed dial. So things like that is invaluable, and that brings your value to the table. And I do a lot of social media because people should see, like, what are you doing? They want to see that you're successful and closing deals. And let me tell you something, I got out of my comfort zone, and there's a famous realtor, I forgot her name, Tatiana Londrano. She's like she was on like those home shows and stuff like that. But she had training, and I know at the end they hook you, to try and get you to. But I had my finger was almost on the power to just hit it and buy, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna try all the free stuff she said first, and so she suggested doing these videos, and I just started trying to do it. And let me tell you something, I did it for a month, and recently of like two people in the same day was like, yo, you should keep up with your videos. You're very entertaining. And I am so like, I don't feel that way. I feel super dorky, awkward, but people like it, So if I could tell you anything, like, when you're at doing certain things, you should be putting that on your social media because it shows when you're closing deals, when you're going for inspection, people get excited about seeing that stuff. Stay active and informed. So my friend, his name is Seth, he started this Lehigh Valley network, lehighvalley.com, and he's trying to gain a lot of momentum on it, which he is. He's getting a lot of traffic now. He does need support, like, so if anybody is ever looking for to sponsor him, I mean sponsor something for the website, like he would love that because he spent all this time and effort and work trying to put the majority of events on one website. Like, how freaking great is that? To go to one place and see Chamber, Friends of Pete, you name it, Lehigh Valley Network, Elite, it's there. People who are doing little ones and just want more, traction and to be seen. So networklehighvalley.com, like I said, if you're looking to sponsor something, get your name out there, whatever, or just need it as an event calendar, that's the only way he's going to be able to keep it going. You should
Vanessa,
check that out.
Vanessa, can I just, because I'm not sure everybody knows what you're saying there. So that site, if you get a chance to go to it, now that's Lehigh Valley based, but it actually, if you click on it, it shows you probably 2 dozen different networking organizations within the Lehigh Valley that you can participate in. But it also has this calendar that she's talking about that shows you all the upcoming events. Now, the Chamber of Commerce does have their event calendar, but this has a lot broader base of some of the things coming up, and a lot of these events are free to attend. So that is one spot you can go, networkleahvalley.com to participate. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, no, it's okay. Thank you. Um, make it a habit. And I will tell you this, like, especially in my old world in business development, follow up is key. If you're not following up, forget it. Like you just wasted your time going to this event. You know, schedule a coffee, schedule a lunch, a breakfast, whatever you can do, schedule it. Get it in 24, 48 hours after you met that person. You're still top of mind and they're still reeling from the interaction that they had with you. So make sure your follow-up is good. And you could, like it says, you could just be one handshake away, one conversation, one event away. A lot of times in the summer, I actually don't golf, but this girl here just bought a set of golf clubs. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going out there on a course. And in the summer or the spring, like they have foursomes with the chamber, or there's other individual nonprofits that are trying to raise money. Let me tell you something. If you have an opportunity to go out on the golf course with 3 other people, that is some major bonding time. I have become best friends with people after that because there's nowhere to go. You got to suck it up and you got to learn about that person, and you have nothing to do all day is to try to get to learn someone. So if I could ever suggest something, take up golfing. Um, like things to avoid, please, especially the professional networkers out there. Do not be salesy. Do not try and sell yourself. Like nobody's there wants to hear you pushing yourself on them. It is a turnoff. The idea of networking is to build the relationship and you furnish value to the other person. When you do that, people feel compelled to give you business back. It might not happen for a little while. They might not come across someone for a while. But believe me, if you are there to give value to that person, it might be a connection, it might be business, it might be whatever. Don't be too salesy, please. It's a huge turnoff. The first thing you want to do is you want to get to know that person. So you should be asking that person questions about themselves. Let the other person ask you about you. But you know what? Don't offer it if they don't ask for it, because then they weren't inclined to want to know what you do. You just keep it moving. Maybe the next interaction, maybe they'll be like, oh, yeah, we never got to talk. Or maybe on that coffee, maybe that's where they'll, look to learn more about you. But please, it's a turn off. Don't do it. Lack of preparation. I'm one of those people. You tell me, make you a wedding dress, I'll figure it out. Okay. I have no sewing skills, but I'll figure it out. But you should be a little bit more prepared. I have gone into meetings with CPAs like right before I walk into the meeting, and I'm going to the about them to just have some kind of stuff to talk about with them about their college or whatever, their history. So yeah, if you're going in a one-on-one, I would say 100% prepare. And a lot of times, if you're going to a networking event, if you want to be more strategic, a lot of times you can see the guest list of who is going to be attending. Maybe that's a little bit more conducive for you, not to waste time to see, but for me, being in real estate, every single person is a prospect. I don't care. I will sell to your grandmother. Like, every person is a potential. Neglecting follow-up, I already talked about that, and poor listening skills. if someone is talking to you and telling you about what they do, and then you're distracted, you know, you feel it, you know it, you see it. And that's a turnoff. And that will make a person not really want to engage with you if they see that you're not genuinely engaged. I have told a person at an event, they were like, I came to talk to you, I came to see you. I need to talk to you. The music is blaring. There's a lot of people I wanted to get to touch before the end of the night. And I told her, I said, now is not a good time to talk one-on-one. Like, let's meet after because it's too loud. I can't hear you. I can't focus on you because I'm like a rabbit. I'm looking at everybody that I want to touch, so it's okay to say that. And it's okay to say, like, listen, this is not a great place. Like, let's meet tomorrow or whatever. Um, Nurturing your connections. I've met people at the dessert table at an event, and now we're like lifelong friends. And that person in turn introduced me to a whole slew of people like that are lawyers and judges and DAs. And so, you know, nurturing the relationship is very important. Um, like I said, it should be 24 to 48 hours. And there's a lot of clubs. Garrett Rhodes, he's part of Century 21 Time, and he does investor meetups. Like I still haven't gotten that niche down or anything like that, but I like to engage and I like to learn. And you learn from other people. And there's a lot of people that go to these events that want to learn too. So if you can get somebody on the ground up and build a relationship with them, and then they keep growing, and then you have that relationship with them, and they're sending you the business, like that's golden. Um, a couple of things that I wrote here. The Chamber of Commerce. It's a great way. And those are the Chamber of Commerce. People always say like, the same people go there. Yeah, but you know what? Every time I see Mike, I'm totally engaged with Mike and I see him all the time. But you know what? We've built our relationship over the years. So you never know. I'm on the board of East Penn, and I'm on the committee for the Hispanic Chamber. They welcome that stuff. They always need people to help participate. And because again, Lauren pays, we have this extra ability. And if anybody's interested, please let me know. I would love to, help you with that however I can. And then niche professional networks. So I started my own women's group. And it started off with, and in this group, there's another real estate agent, there's 2 or 3 mortgage reps, like, but we all come together. And a lot of times, like, some people will have a product, another person won't have that product, and we always lean on each other, and we do events with each other. So like we'll mix it up so everybody tries to get business, and I'm also part of BNI. So if you have an opportunity to join a networking group, I would do it. Try it out, see what happens. um And this is some pictures that I just took, um, that, sometimes I just invite a bunch of people and I'm like, so I used to get tickets to the suite at the Iron Pigs. And I was also contemplating, oh, I don't know what happened to, okay. I was also contemplating looking to see if maybe someone would partner up with me and want to do that, because the Iron Pigs Stadium just started this thing where it's where the grassy knoll used to be. They built like these cabanas. So I think that's a great summer event, and it's really not so much per person. And I mean, like, I don't know, maybe if a few of us got together and rented it, and we can invite either prospects or our old clients, like, I think that's a great idea. People love that. people still to this day are telling me, Vanessa, we had so much fun in those suites. So people don't forget how you made them feel. And then, during Christmas time, we get together, a few of us, and we fed the homeless this day. And then another day, one of my friends, she used to be the catering person at the Delta. And I told her, you know what we should do? We should do this type of event where it's like a chef's tasting table. She was all about it. So I invited like 12 people, and that's what we did. It's just anytime you get to bond with someone, that is what they always remember. And let me just see from my notes, anything else I wanted to cover. You don't need to be everywhere, but you need to be consistent. That if that's one of the things I wanted to convey. And I was reflecting back, and I'm a newer agent. So for the people who, like they sell a lot, I see Casey's on the phone, I mean on the Zoom. So he does a lot of business. Like I'm not there yet. But I can tell you, like reflecting back and doing this PowerPoint, it made me look at, okay, so all of these people came from this person, and these people came from that person. It is word of mouth. A lot of the business is word of mouth. Um, and then people begin to see you as a resource, not just an agent. So I just got a call the other day. She wants me to look at her house to sell, but she's asking me for all these other things, a lawyer, divorce lawyer, this, that. And so I'm a resource for people, and people tend to call me just for random stuff, so I'm always top of mind. I try to be. And I think that's all I have to say. I hope
Divorce
I was
lawyers, by the way,
okay.
that's great. Divorce lawyers can be a wealth of opportunities as well. Attorneys in general advise people, and of course CPAs and so on. One thing I'll point out: both Vanessa and Mike are not from Eastern Pennsylvania originally. So these are people who have built decent, nice practices, nice businesses, without actually having lived here their whole lives, like some others. So you can build a practice without having to be here your entire life. So let me segue over to Mike and let you take over. We call him the king of networking, so I'll let him take over. And
Yeah.
the king of hockey also. That's what I've been told.
Yes. Yeah. That's everything I've done professionally can always come back even better than Kevin Bacon. It's just a couple of degrees away from my role with ice hockey, both as a youth and college athlete as well as a professional coach and administrator at USA Hockey. Everything Vanessa said, I'm scribbling notes here the whole time. And Vanessa, hopefully you'll share your slides. But a couple of things came to mind about networking and how you get started. A little bit about me. I've spent a 25-year career with big companies, General Electric, and then what used to be BOC Gases, and briefly with Praxair, in compliance management and risk services. So I was in the C-suite, if you will, had access to CEOs and all the big shots. But I also, put the boots on and walked out on the factory floors and dealt with the trades and the career worker, if you will, the machinist, et cetera. Just to get to know what makes other people tick, and for me to help me park my attitude of I'm better than somebody else, which of course I'm not. My invitation to all of you is if I ever act that way, just come up and smack me to do that. But I went after 25 years. I decided no more moving. We had already moved here to the Lehigh Valley, and my kids were in high school. I just did not want to do another move, and we could have to Northern California, then Southern California. No, we're not going to do it. So I'm going to try my hand at self-employment. And I went through CareerLink in the workforce development, and I actually ran for them the self-employment assistance program, where we did counseling for people that were recently displaced that wanted to become self-employed and get off the same treadmill that I had gotten off of. And we did that through 2011, 04 to 2011. And then 3 more years, we did the CareerLink Academy at William Allen High School and had a lot of fun with that as well. But because I did that, I was able to be exposed to many people across a wide spectrum of businesses, whether it be retail, uh, commercial. What is it you want to do? Well, I'm a baker. I'm going to put a baking oven in my house. Well, okay. And what comes with that in terms of risk and compliance and permitting? Where you're going to get your customers? How are you going to market and expose yourself? To a gentleman that was a corporate communications person who thought, wow, you can go it on your own. This should be a home run. 6 weeks into it, he says, I can't get any traction whatsoever, and my unemployment's going to run out. So I'm going back to regular unemployment. So just when you think it could work and should work, and individuals we come across are going to be rock stars, they bottom out and they move on and do something different. Because I have this expertise in starting up a new company, developing a plan for your business. I'm not a big fan of the templates on business plans themselves, because you're going to speculate and make things up. I have no idea where my revenue is going to be generated in the next 6 months, but I do know I need to identify my next or my first 50 customers. Harsh lesson with leadership development at General Electric. Jack Welch called a lot of companies in, or divisions in, with the business plans. And he ripped up the GE Lighting division business plan and says, you haven't identified your next 5,000 customers. That's pretty deep in a business plan, 5,000 customers. It could have been 50. I have no idea where these people are going to come from or how you attempt to identify them. I knew my customers. My customers were internal and operational staff. You do that. But because I had the breadth of exposure and experience to many others, I decided to acquire one of the companies in that workforce development program, and we became Entrust Payment Systems. We're a banking as a service enterprise. With that, with merchant services, it used to be knock, 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 show me your statements, I can beat your rate. My mentor at the time, a Bank of America guy, came back and said, you need to do something different if you want to be successful, because there's too many bad actors out there that promise. And when something goes wrong and your customers want to know, where is my money? These people aren't in business anymore. They move on and they're gone. And that makes the case for merchant services to remain embedded within banking in the platform, even though the banks have outsourced their credit card processing. Do that. So you have to be credible. You have to be reliable. You have to know where your customers, next 50 customers, might come from. But more importantly, let's address what their concerns are. Some of the things in the networking environment. What do you do versus what have you done? And what have you done should be more about the opportunities that you're trying to find in the networking. Briefly, Vanessa touched on it. You want to touch on the key points, 1, 2, or 3 key points, to say, hey, what is it you get to do every day? That sounds fascinating. Tell me, how do you consider risk in your business enterprises? How do you consider business development and marketing? How do you decide where to spend your money in marketing and your time in marketing? Like we're here. You don't get into the one-in-one detail minutia. You just say, look, let's hit the highlights here. But look, coffee's always on me. I'll buy the coffee. Why don't we meet one-to-one so we can dive in deeper a little bit? I'll call you. The initiative is mine. I'll call you in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, you'll agree to meet with me. Yeah, fair enough. Sometimes they say they don't have time. And you got to know when to cut your losses with that. One of the things we've always asked people to do is develop a marketing plan, and it's mostly about networking. Vanessa, you talked about this. Passive membership. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. When I went self-employed, I became a member of the Chamber of Commerce. And like many others, we sit there, I'm not getting any phone calls. I'm not getting any business from the Chamber. Well, it's not what the Chamber does. The Chamber creates the environment for you to get new business, but they don't steer it your way. Not at all, at least not at that point. In my early days, 04, 05, when I first started, I would go to the Small Business Council meetings, their learning sessions. And early on, I expressed an interest in becoming a member of the Small Business Council as a board of director, member of the board of directors. And their answer back to me was, not so rude, but, well, who are you? We don't see you. We don't know you. What have you done? Why should we consider you? You need more time and experience in these groups. So when you look at passive marketing or passive networking, merely showing up might not be good enough. So then you have to move on to being active. You need to show up. 95% of what we do every day is being present, being involved, and showing up and getting in front of other individuals, whether it's on calls like this today or going out. For me, I sit at a Panera coffee shop once or twice a week or more, and just see who comes in. It's a great networking environment, and you get to spend some quality time with other individuals. For me, I use that time as accountability. A very dear colleague of mine, we'd sit there every day and hold each other accountable. And that was a nice experience until he passed away. So active is being present, attending sessions, and making sure you got the right sessions. Then the final piece of that is, after passive and active, it's being involved. I was upside down. I had asked to be involved as a member of the board of directors. It was too early. I didn't develop my resume, if you will, to be involved in leadership. I've always wanted to be that person that could get involved early on. Working for General Electric, I went to work for the joint venture between GE and United Technologies, and we had an outside trade association. And I volunteered. I'll do it. I'll step up. And my boss, on the ride back to the office, said, "I knew you were going to say yes because you're too eager. But now that you're there, what are you going to do?" "What do you mean?" "I'm going to listen. I'm going to learn." So, well, and offer what? So again, I was a little misplaced, a little premature, but it's a balancing act of being a member of X, Y, or Z, being active by attending the right sessions, and then getting involved where you add value. And currently, I just simply say, I'd be happy to help you if you think I could add value to what you're trying to do. Most recently, well, a couple of years ago anyway, I was put before the Northampton County Council as a member of the board of directors for Atlanta, a regional transit authority. Of course, showing up is important. Being active and attending the committee meetings and contributing, adding value, that was important. Being involved means this. Okay, it's your turn. You're the vice chair of the board for 2 years, and then you become chair of the board at Atlanta. And I'm currently the chair at Atlanta, which is more than honorary. It's a real privilege to serve the county, but it's oversight of an administrative detail here. And we know what's going on with our state budget and where's funding coming from for statewide assistance in transit, child protection services, health and human services, et cetera, to do that. But I also want to add, there is no panacea. Just because you do something, you can't just sit back. You need to be thoughtful and reflective what you're going to do. When you have a chance to meet and greet with somebody and you ask them a question, your next comment should be based on what they just told you, not what you want to say. And that'll get you through these awkward moments, if you will, where all of a sudden you get flushed with shame to say, "Oh my God, I just puked all over this individual and I never asked them more meaningful questions." Those questions can come with one-to-ones later on. So I like to steer the conversations into, have you considered what risk means to your business? Have you considered what you would do if there was a collapse in our data networking system? Such as, let me give you an example. New Year's Eve, 3 years ago, the Visa network went down. Nobody's credit card transactions got approved. What do you do at 9:00 at night? You show up, you respond, you develop your reputation for being that person that is immediately responsive. Well, to the extent you can, if you're in the same town, you would do that. And I like to quote those examples. The other one would be, what would you do if you are missing deposits? What would you do if your deposits are short? What would you do if your month-end billing are excessively high? And I use the example of a quick serve restaurant where on a Saturday morning, the wife of the business called in a panic. "Oh my God, I just saw a debit notice, $28,000. And she said, "Mike, we're going to bounce payroll checks and everything else that got written out last week. We can't do that. We barely got a couple $1,000s left in the bank account." Not a problem. I know people. And isn't that the heart of networking? I know people. I called the local banker and And I'd asked her, Gracie, reject my debit on Monday. You're going to see this huge debit come through. Reject it. Kick it right back to me. For what? Because it's all funny money. From a risk perspective, the account got probed. They had 1.4 million transactions attempted. A little over 600,000 of them were approved for nominal amounts that you'd expect to see at a quick serve restaurant, an ice cream stand, for example. It was crazy. So we got all that unraveled, but you want to talk about loyalty then. And the son of the business came back. You don't have to worry about a thing with attrition with this account. As we grow, you're going to grow with us. You're a partner with us. And those examples get published. We have their permission to use them. I won't today, but we have their permission to use that example in sales calls. And that helps us build trusted relationships in networking for what we're trying to do. Networking should equal trusted relationships. Say what you do and do what you say. I joke, I like to return phone calls in person to the extent I can. But networking does not mean a shortened sales cycle. We can't take anything for granted if we get the opportunity to quote business. But when we do quote business, our chances are pretty high that we're going to convert the business and take it over, because we don't want to sit down and provide a quote in detail unless we have that relationship already in hand and they're asking for it, right? Because they're going to want the documents to do that. Vanessa talked about, I don't get anything from the chamber. It's always the same people, the same group. Well, it should be. Intentional networking is about being with the same people, the same group, with meaningful follow-up. And doesn't that come back to, if you're complaining it's the same people all the time, well, then you're passive networking. You're just showing up, but you're not really engaging. And then as you start to move away from that, becoming active, where else can you go? In my industry, I've been doing it now for 20 years. In my industry, it's vital for me to know a lot about your business. And that helps. So I go where you go. If we were selling to the real estate community, I would become a member of the Lehigh Valley Realtors Association. And maybe I should, Lauren, I don't know. But I would want to go where you go. I would want to see the people that you see in that circle of influence. Do that. On a personal note, we used to do things. So we used to get screwed. This is before the pandemic, so we haven't done it for quite a while. But the people still ask us, when are you going to do it again? We'd call it Friday night meatballs or Sunday sauce. Now, the name is German. I grew up Sicilian, and we used to grow up in the neighborhood in Buffalo, where we're from. And you'd have Sunday sauce with your relatives or your neighbors come on over, put the bottle of wine on the table, and eventually you'd have spaghetti and meatballs, something really simple. Traditional Sicilian meals, simple meals to do that. But we would have a dozen people invited to our home, and we would know Mr. and Mrs. Keim, and they know Mike and Judy. You don't know anybody else until we introduce you to the next couple from an eclectic contact list, if you will. And we're already thinking maybe Lauren and this other couple can do business together, and they could learn more about each other. So it's a casual, friendly, personal way to put other people together without regard to ourselves. Right. And we did that a number of times.
You become the connector. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was looking for that word. The connector is a really good word for that. And people come back, oh, you got to do that again. When are you going to do it next? And I would say, well, how about if you do it? But I don't want to do that because it was our Sunday sauce day, and the bouncing meatballs, and of course with the wine flowing in the tradition of Sicilian relatives, here come the arguments because somebody would say something dumb about the current state of affairs. No, that's not allowed. Stop. Can't do that. And it will get a little bit louder. Let's see. If anybody has questions, I don't know if you want us to take questions, Lauren, or not.
If you're okay with that, when you're done, I'll switch over to Dwight for a little bit, and then we can back to questions if that's okay.
Yeah, you bet. But thank you everybody for being attentive, and Lauren, thanks for the invite to hop on here and share some of my simple thoughts.
By the way, I've heard you say when someone starts talking politics and arguing about something, your response has been something like, "Oh no, no, I'm Canadian. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff." So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I grew up in Southern Ontario in Stevensville. I'm a U.S. citizen, but it gets me out of a lot of trouble if I
I
say,
don't know if
"Well,
you could actually say that now though, because
well, exactly," because that's funny story. Because just about everything that I wear that's casual is embroidered USA Hockey over here, and I've had a entire lifespan of hockey involvement. But we went on a European vacation this past fall, and I said, "Did you pack anything?" "No, not really. I got my button-down dress shirts." "Well, what about that? It's got the USA Hockey flag on it. And I don't want to bring that attention to myself because, well, how about this? Hockey Canada." "No, it's got the maple leaf on it. Don't want to show that either because, we're not well liked internationally, but we just want to get along with everybody." And my fears were unfounded. I didn't have to worry about anything to do that. But you're right, Lauren. Somebody said, "What do I care? I'm Canadian. I can't even vote," which is not true, but it gets me out of those awkward moments. Thanks, Warren.
I don't know if most of you can get away with that. I'm going to pass over to Dwight for a couple of minutes and let him talk a little bit about some of the stuff that he's done to try and build business and how he's coached agents to utilize some of these tools to be successful. I'm going to actually turn the camera a little bit.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I just want to be real quick here because I think everything's been pretty much covered. The chamber, I think, is great. There's also a council called the Ambassadors Council, and they'll take almost anybody on that. And the nice thing about that is your job is really to talk to other people and other people that are just new members in particular. So that's a great way to meet people as well. And you kind of have an excuse for it at that point. Just a couple things. Real estate really has to be a way of life. If you truly want to be successful, everyone has to know what you're doing and what it is that you do. Because if I had $1 for every time someone said, yes, so and so sold their house, they're my neighbor and why didn't they use you? Well, they didn't know I did it or whatever the reason. But it's very important that everyone knows exactly how you can help them. All right. Vanessa alluded to that as well too. When you go to these events and there's Lehigh Valley Elite Network, there's the Style Happy Hour, they meet once a month. There's Chamber, they have their signature event once a month. But again, like Vanessa on the councils, there's a couple dozen councils that you can be a part of. There's also out there like social clubs like Owls, Lions with Glasses. Some of them join a club, the Moose or VFW as a social member. Any of
Rotary, the
those.
Rotary Club.
Yeah, that's another great one. It forces you to get involved with people. And really, it's like J.C. Penney said, all business is built on friendship. If you want the most business, have the most friends. All right. Not they have to be so much of a social butterfly that you're obnoxious, but you need to get out there and you need to interact with people. And again, the follow up is going to be the most important thing. It can't be just, hey, how you doing? Can I have your business card kind of thing. I mean, there's a couple key questions that you have to ask at any of these things. And I think the biggest one starts with service. How can I help you? How can I help you grow your business? Because if people see that you care about them, they're going to care about you too. All right. I think that's too much. We worry about me, rather than how can I help somebody else? I think that's the biggest question that you have to ask of these people when you're out there. And I mean, there was a study done that realtors are thought like one step above used car salesmen. It's ridiculous, but that's the persona that we get because we don't care enough about how can I help you? If you do that, it'll come back to you tenfold. Um, the other thing that the question that you have to ask, part of your elevator pitch, as it were, do you know anybody looking to, and again, not them personally, do they know anybody when it comes to your time to talk, all right, your time to shine? Do you know anyone interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate? Because I mean, my grandfather, he was a farmer, and he used to say the one thing to me, and it stuck with me since I was a little boy: God ain't making no more dirt. All right. And it's true. I mean, real estate, over the years, I mean, you know how the market works. I mean, it always ends up going up. Sure, we have our little dips and stuff, but if you look, you're always going to end up farther ahead, so God ain't making no more dirt, and I can't stress that enough. Getting back to everyone needs to know what you do. I think if you're eating out, the waitress, be a tipper. Obviously, she should get a card. She should know what you do. The bartender, if you go to bars, sadly I do. But anyway, Rebecca Entwistle, she's a $10 million a year producer. She was a bartender at a place that I used to stop on the way home. You don't know who it is, you don't know what they can be, what their potential is. Don't judge. Talk to everyone, make friends. All business is built on friendship. Convenience stores. You go in there, buy a Coke or a water or something like that. You don't know. I talked to someone at a 7-Eleven once. I talk to everyone wherever I go, but a 7-Eleven, they bought 13 gas stations from me over like a 10-year period. Many of them were over $1 million sales. I mean, if I didn't open my mouth and tell him what I did, if I didn't ask him, how can I help you? Are you looking for more? Are you looking to sell? I mean, again, nothing matters till you start a conversation. I mean, that's the key thing. And I think networking, the tips, BNIs, I think they're wonderful. I mean, but just living your life and living your life with everyone knowing what it is that you do. Again, real estate is a way of life. So if you want to be truly, great at something, make sure that you focus on it and make sure everyone knows exactly what it is that you're doing. So with that, everyone else talked. We'll
Sure.
get back. Thank you. Have a great day.
I'll bring it back to any questions anybody's got that's joining us today. You can unmute and ask anything you'd like of our panel today.
Dwight, I would like to know how you got those gas stations. Was that through Crexi or Reonomy?
Well, actually, we have a list that Lauren purchases of everyone that owns a gas station here in Pennsylvania that's available. So he pays for it.
How can I
We
get
can
that
actually,
list?
I can send it to you, or you can also pull it up on Reonomy. You can do the same thing on Reonomy to find them. Yeah.
Is that like a preset for a search specifically for gas stations, or?
Actually, in Reonomy, what you can do is actually put in it's under retail, I think. So you search all retail properties, and then when you pull
Convenience
up
stores, right?
the advanced, no, it's actually, I think it's under gas station. There's one that might be service station. There's one that might be gas station. So you just have to look
That's
for which one it is. Yep.
And I used to take a new guy with me back in the day, and just go from gas station to gas station. You'd be amazed. I mean, either one of two things. If you ask that question, first of all, I'll find out if the owner's there. Make a note who the owner is, because even the employees will tell you. But it's amazing how often the owner is there. And then find out, hey, are you looking for more? Or would you take an offer? I mean, those are the two questions that come up. And then a couple questions that you're going to know. Do they own the real estate? How long are they locked into their purchase of gasoline from whoever.
Exxon or whatever.
Whatever franchise it is or independent. Where do they buy their gas? And what are the credit card sales? If they say, "Oh, I take a look at an offer," you want to find out what the same store sales are, because they don't make their money really on the gas. It's taxed too heavy and anything. But getting them in to buy cigarettes and everything else like that, that's where they make their money. So, but any gas station in particular, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but any gas station doing over 1 million gallons a year is profitable, because of the sales that go along with it. So anyway, sorry.
By the way, Tim Mahan every morning stops for coffee, probably 2 places. And the places he stops for coffee, everybody knows that he is a real estate broker. And so he's gotten a lot of business over the last few years just from those people behind the counters at those gas stations. That's another form of networking in a way. Other questions anybody's got?
Hi, I'm Lauren. You mentioned earlier about one of the office, how they host, say, a Christmas gathering for the community. As you may recall, I do the first-time home buyers. One in the East Stroudsburg area, office is a little small. So my thing is, how can I continue to do the first-time home buyers network, in the, say, the Pocono area? Is there any recommendation?
So if you get more people wanting to attend than can fit into the office, then you look for a bigger venue. Obviously, our Bethlehem facility, and if anybody ever wants to do anything in the Bethlehem facility, that back room holds probably 35 people. So you can do some fairly decent events back there. If you're trying to do something in the southern Pocono area or anywhere really, we have to try and look for another place to host it. But you're not looking for a hotel because it's too much money. So look for a community center or a school, an organization that allows you to utilize their space. Sometimes churches. So try and figure out where you might be able to do something with a donation and promising to clean up, rather than trying to rent something large, because it usually doesn't pay to do that. Does that make sense? Anyone else have any experience in
Thanks.
finding places? So we were looking for a place to hold the buyer seminar for Spanish-speaking individuals recently, and one of the places we've used in the past is the Masonic Temple, Masonic Lodge. But again, it depends on what the availability is, who's in charge, and whether or not you can make that work. But you have to look for a spot where it's going to actually work. And we are looking for events, by the way, for 1031 exchanges and how to invest in real estate and how to get your business started, how to find a location for it. So there's lots of things that we can do. It's a matter of getting people involved that are willing to participate in it. Other questions anybody's got? And if not, you think this was helpful, and is there anything you want to give back to Vanessa and Mike and Dwight?
I have some suggestions for some people that might be new on the Zoom, if you guys like.
Sure.
Years ago, I realized that business cards were easy to throw out. So I started realizing there's a couple of things in real estate people don't know. And so I found a ghostwriter to write some basic helpful books on sorry, I'm out of breath because I had to run downstairs quick and find it because I'm in the middle of a move right now. But so when I started, I'm like, you know what, it's impossible to throw out a book. So I started creating things like, I don't know if you can see this. Don't mock the picture. But it was a formula on how to sell any home. I just created new covers. For sale by owner guide. I don't know if you can kind of see it. So, and I continually use the same picture like they would. I did how to sell your house if it's expired. And then this was the best one that I used to do, was market myself to every single divorce attorney, because I was like, well, they're going to have to sell the house to somebody. So I might as well be a big part of it. So I'd go door to door and I'd ask them, I'd say, hey, listen, will you hand this out? Best way to sell a house during a divorce. What it did is it separated me in the community. It was also a face that they continually saw on a book because I kept it consistent. And I was like, wow, the cost of me doing these little ghost written books, it does two things. Number one, it helps them to understand, look, you actually care for them, whether they choose to use you or not. I'd have them purposely sit down at a table in their living room, and I'd purposely leave the book on their table. Not many people just take and throw a book away, but it's a lot easier to say, oh, this little business card, let me toss it. So I started this when and then I'd also, for expired listings, I'd knock on a door if anybody wasn't there. I'd leave this actual book there and just say, hey, with a little note, I stopped by your house. I left you a little bag. Call me with any questions. I went from probably 3 transactions, 4 transactions, maybe a month, to doing 65 to 100 transactions a year just by creating books. So when you do it, being different, I was young, very uneducated, but I knew one thing I had to do, like Mike was talking about, was create a way of getting out there, not just being passive, and coming up with ways that I could identify who are my customers that I want to work with. I think one of the big things in real estate, because there's so many different facets, is that you can choose commercial, residential, but then you break down those categories and you're like, okay, well, there's a lot to residential. There's foreclosures. Maybe you want to be a person that specializes in something. And we've all heard that expression, jack of all trades, masters of none, right? I would challenge you in this industry to become the master at something that really you're passionate about. I mentioned this at the commercial meeting because it's very hard to focus on something that you don't really care about. So if you're like, you know what, I'm somebody like Vanessa that can go to these events and start talking about, I don't know, like in this scenario, maybe you're at an event and you see a bunch of attorneys. Oh, great. Do you handle divorces? I asked that, and it's a great way to segue. They're going to laugh at you and go, that's an interesting question. No one's asked me that. Well, of course. Well, the reason I ask is I have this new book, and this is what I used to do when you talk about marketing. And I'd hand this book. I said, hey, listen, you know what I mean? I didn't do it there, but I asked, hey, can I pop in to show you one of the books that I've created? Now, mind you, this was not complicated, and pretty much all I did was get creative with the book cover, but I knew I had to be consistent by keeping my face on the cover of the book at the time when I started so that people got used to that. That becomes the passive part, because whether I'm there or not, that book still sits in their face and my face is on the table and there they see it. So that was the purpose of it. So as a general, very basic way of creating a way to be passive and active at the same time by simply leaving a book there. I was active in knocking on the door. I was active at showing up at the event. I was active on doing these things. I was passive by leaving these things because it still was a piece of me that I left. And I'd take it away. When I'd sit down with people, I'd say, hey, listen, whether you choose to use me or not is fine. But at least I know that I've been able to help educate you and provide you a benefit. Because people always buy because of features, advantages, and benefits of any single thing. But they also buy out of fear of loss. And I would do a takeaway when I'd meet with people. I say, the unfortunate thing is a lot of people, they choose not to call me back. And I get calls later and I find out that they've lost somewhere around 25% of what they originally listed their house for. Don't be that candidate. So I'd take it away. So I use these things as strategy. And I like what Mike was talking about too, and Vanessa. It all goes hand in hand. But I would say find a niche, right? Find a niche on what you want to focus on. Because real estate does have a lot of pieces. And, Lauren's a book of commercial real estate and real estate in general. Like you could just read the book of Lauren and that's great. But many of us, we won't ever gain that amount of knowledge that he has. That's okay. I would encourage you to just get dialed in on one specific area and then grow from it. Because you're going to learn when you become a master at something, you become so good at it that it's passive for you. Now it's time to become active towards something else. And so I would encourage you to do exactly that. That's all I wanted to suggest, just as a little tool for those that might be new, those that might be experienced. It's worked for me to go from, like I said, 4 to 5 transactions to 65 to 100 a year when I was really active. I've slowed down now, a little older now with 2 grandkids, and it is what it is. It's so here I am. Get started. And if I can help you in any way, please reach
You said
out.
2 grandkids?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Congratulations. So a question. So it's a book written by a ghostwriter. So your name is not at all on that book.
It is. Well, on the back. So
Oh, okay.
I basically reached out to a ghostwriter and I said, hey, listen, can you create me? Because one of the things I realized is that 9 out of 10 people you talk to that's looking to buy or sell a house, they actually don't even know the process of buying and selling a house.
Yeah.
They don't know what's involved. And
Mhm.
so I thought, worst case scenario, if I give them something, just like I can't remember if it was Mike or Vanessa that talked about, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And for what it did for me was it gave them an opportunity to say, hey, look, I care that you're going to lose money if you do this on your own as a, oh, I'm not going to pay a commission to a realtor. Okay, well, then you're going to lose a lot of money. Is that cool for you? And they would be like, what do you mean? Well, you can give them statistics, but they still don't believe you, right? They're still going to do it on their own. So I said, well, here's a book. Here, if you're going to do it on your own, is at least a way that you can benefit by getting more money for it. See how it works for you. I didn't even ask for the sale, but I did give them something and I took away an opportunity. I said, look, I'm playing off the subconscious of how people's mind operate.
Did we lose you?
I don't know, but he went off there for a second. While we're waiting, anybody else have anything you'd like to ask or give back to Mike and Vanessa and Dwight and Casey?
One more question. When you go to a networking event and you have 2 people like from Century 21 networking with the rest of the people at that event, what should be method of operation there?
I'll leave that for the rest of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much real estate specific where you have two. Are you suggesting you have two competing agents and brokers in the same space?
Yeah,
Correct.
or from the same team. For example, if I go to an event and I find Vanessa over there, I'm not going to step on her toes. But how should we work as a team?
Yeah, well, I think in that regard, is I have other bankers there, and I want to respect. For me, it's competition because I'm a bit of a lone wolf to do that. But professional respect for one another, and say, hey, let me know if I can help you. Give back to the other person, right? So you would say to Vanessa, say, hey, I noticed you're speaking with so and so. If I can add value, let me know. I'm going to go over here, grab another cup of coffee or whatever. And that rubs off. Vanessa would probably do the same for you at some point, coming back. For me, when I see competitors in the room, I get more pride. I know what I do. I know what I've done, and I know my status in the area. So I don't let them intimidate me at all. And in almost every case, I just welcome them and say, hey, how's it going for you? Because when I see a competitor in the room, I'm gauging their longevity in the business.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I respect that because they're surviving. When I see a competitor in the room, where did I see that person before? That's right. Nowhere. Where will I see them next? Don't know. And I'm mindful. Will I see them again at some other point? So it's kind of difficult to do that. But I think professional respect goes a long way. Back to you. Now I'm losing bandwidth.
Oh.
Yeah, there we go.
So
Vanessa,
when
I'm
I
sorry.
was in banking, we used to show up as a team, and I actually started that because we have something to be proud of. We have like the number one person in commercial real estate, in real estate, as our broker. Like that is something I was telling Lauren when we had our commercial thing, I was bragging about. And so if me and you are at the same event, listen, you're going to build different relationships with different people that I might not be touching. But one thing I definitely will do, I will be like, we're in the same brokerage. Like we work for the best brokerage in town. And that's how we partner up. And if I see that you're starting a relationship with someone, or I see like, and like Mike said, if I have a lot of inside knowledge about a lot of people, I do not mind at all telling you, hey, because I might not have built that bridge together with that person. We might just be surface, because just because I'm meeting a million people a week does not mean that all of those relationships are going to develop into something, right? So you might be developing that side. And if I can give you some insider knowledge or something that I know, why not? Because at the end of the day, our brokerage is getting the business. We're still being looked at as a great organization with trustworthy, great people. Why not?
Vanessa, you bring up a good point too, is that if you bring in a teammate into the conversation, if you notice, if you're mindful that, well, wait a minute, my teammate's over there by themselves, let's bring them into this. Now you're
Yes.
mentoring a colleague.
Yes.
And that goes a long way as well. And maybe they'll model the same behavior for somebody else.
Listen, the Valley, Pennsylvania is large enough. There's enough business to go around, so that's how I see it. If I'm developing a relationship with someone, like I got to work hard at that. Right. So, I mean, if you come in and you try to take that away from me, then that's, like now I know how you work, but if we're together and we're at the same event and we're hanging out, I'm proud. I'm saying we work for the best. We work together. Maybe we'll even be like, we work together on some deals. Like he's phenomenal. If I know you're trying to get business, I will be able to like vouch for you. And my word in the community is heavy, so I don't know. It could work that way.
Yeah, people gravitate toward different personality styles as well.
Yes.
I've been saying that for years. So you can have three people from the same team, same firm in an area, and some people will like one much better than another, and some people will just not like one at all.
Or sometimes like they may be somewhere from Poconos, and maybe you're like, I'm not driving all the way up there in the Poconos. But Vanessa, would you be willing to show? Like, there are a lot of ways you can work together with someone.
True. Anybody else? Any questions or anything you'd like to give back?
I had a question. The networking, I noticed that it was stated for like Lehigh Valley as far as the discounts and stuff. Does that also go for the Poconos, or that's just the Chambers of Commerce in Lehigh Valley?
I believe we belong to the Pocono Chamber of Commerce. If we don't, we'll join it. But there are also small chambers all over the place that are interconnected. So most of this stuff we actually do have access to. If we don't, we'll find a way to make sure that we do.
They're working on merging.
I think Dwight said he's part of the Ambassadors Council. If you're a member of the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber, you're a member of all the affiliated chambers, which I believe is going to include Carbon County as well as Pocono. So you'll be able to take advantage of member rates and member access for all the three regional chambers.
And when he says member rates, there's also lots of free events all over the place that happen. Pre-pandemic, they were just about daily, and we're ribbon cuttings, and we're getting back to that. Vanessa said she does like 3 events sometimes a day. That is absolutely stunning to me. But whenever you look at anything online, you see Vanessa's face all over the place.
Okay. And how do I go about that? Because I've attended the Chamber of Commerce events in the Poconos, but I've been paying full price.
Well, let me take that offline and we'll try and figure that out. But we are a full member of several things, and the Lehigh Valley Chamber is one of them. So you should be able to get to it through that. Anybody else?
I just want to apologize for dropping off. I just realized that my battery had gone, so I lost you. If there's any other questions, I was halfway through talking. I'd gladly answer any questions. I'm plugged in. So
no problem. We were wondering what happened to you.
Yeah, I just gone. I was talking and all of a sudden disappeared. So I apologize.
Casey, I love that that book idea. If you could share like how I would be able to do that, I would love that. You know, it could be offline, it doesn't have to be here. Or if everybody wants to know, then yeah.
So it was a suggestion. So the other reason for the book was I had to create a way to get the land back to me. So I'm a firm believer in real estate that you got to offer somebody something, right? And I'm not one of those people that gives somebody something with respect to get it back, but there's a general, I think Mike talked about this too, is like when you kind of meet the right crew and you continue to be consistent, with that active marketing campaign, I feel like it will come back naturally, right? So one of the other things I'd use these books for is on the back, I'd give them a web link that would send them to a landing page. You have to use technology right now with AI and everything that's out there. It's so easy, but it would click to them. I say, hey, listen, appraisals can be expensive, but a competitive market analysis is very affordable for you. It's something that we can do as realtors, or a broker price opinion that would make sense to give you a general idea. So at least you know where to start. It's a good foundation. It would leave them a way to give you another contact or a way to contact back or an excuse to follow up with them. Because the follow-up is huge. You mentioned that, Vanessa.
Yep.
It's without follow-up, you're kind of wasting your time. No one's doing the work for you. And there's a lot of, realtors in the Valley. So yeah, I would create a landing page as a result of the book, and I'd offer to cover the cost and expense of a broker price opinion. They don't know how much it costs. It doesn't cost us a thing, right? But it sounds attractive because most, remember, they don't know. So you can create all kinds of book covers. You can utilize things like tools like Canva. You can take and have the meat and potatoes of it, like how to sell your house. Like people don't realize staging is actually a benefit to you. They think of staging, well, I'm not paying more money to sell my house. But many people don't realize when they go to sell their house that the minute you decide to make that decision to sell it, it's no longer personal, it's business, right? Because no one cares how many pictures you have on the wall, that they care about the value and what they're going to walk away with. And so you have to show them, hey, look, all right, if you're making this choice, I'm here to help you from a business standpoint. So the book's just a guide. It was a guide. It was a tool. It was a way to go from passive to active, active to passive without even doing anything. Because like I said, as the book sat there on the counter, I'm still looking at them in the face with a picture that's on the book that's consistent, So if you guys want any other, if you have any other questions, I'll gladly help in any way. I'm a firm believer, knowledge is bliss. So keep learning, educating yourself, utilize people like Mike and Lauren and Vanessa and Dwight that have been at this, and they've got their niche. I think that's what I was talking about, is creating that niche in what you want to do, because there's a lot of facets of real estate. And get dialed into something you're good at, because if you're passionate about it, it's going to be easy. So it's not work when it's easy, right?
True. And I do want to thank everybody for participating. If you haven't seen it in the chat, Mike did put in his contact information if you're interested in that as well. That is in the chat if you want to grab that. And I did record this as well. All right, got it. Any other questions or thoughts at all?
Just want to say thank you to Vanessa. As she stated earlier, she assisted me or is assisting me with some of her connection. I truly appreciate it. And to say also to Dwight, his name came up in conversation. So people do know about Century 21 agents.
Nice. Very nice. Well, thank everybody. Thank everybody here for participating. I particularly want to thank Vanessa and Mike and Dwight, and of course Casey for coming in at the end there with information on networking and building your brand, building your business. For those of you who are around at noon, we are also doing one on the new Moxie Rise CRM as well, for those of you who'd like to participate in that. But I am hoping this was helpful today, and look forward to having an exciting 2026 with a lot of stuff coming up that we're going to be putting together. So hopefully we're going to see a spectacular 2026. But get out there and network, join anything you possibly can, and be visible and give back wherever you can.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks,
everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate everything you've done. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. As long as I bring value, that's the important part.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Take care. Enjoy.
Bye.